Does R&B still exist? I mean, like, for real, for real. This is a question lingering on the hearts and ears of many music lovers laboring through the layers of short attention span, over auto-tuned, questionably emo content saturating these digital airwaves. But perhaps we'll come closer to an answer with the help of today's special guest, known as contemporary R&B electro-soul crooner Élan. Serving love-laden lyrics that go as deep as his falsetto goes high, with a blend of soul and synth, his style has been qualified as authentic, optimistic, and lit. I am your host, Queen GodIs, welcoming you once again to the magical musical universe called B-Side, where the sounds beam with the light of 1,000 Brooklyn stars, where the glow up is very real, and the vibe ain't no joke. Stay tuned, BK. Keep it close.
Riding these waves to Jamaica, paradise save me from this breakup. Yes, it's fine when I pray, but it's not easy. Even though I'm awake, I still think of you. Flying me so high, the moon and over. If I let go, if I let go, flying me so high, the moon and over. Should I let go? Should I let go? Yeah, 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 yeah. Your freedom was won, but it came too easy. Yeah. Oh. Now sit in the sun, think, do you miss me? Yeah. Now won't you fly me so high, the moon and over. If I let go, if I let go, fly me so high, the moon and over. Should I let go? I still can't let go, yeah, yeah, yeah. Fly me so high, the moon and over. If I let go, yeah, yeah, yeah. If I let go, yeah. Fly me so high, the moon and over. Should I let go? Should I let go? Yeah, yeah. I still can't let go of my baby, flying high without my baby, baby, baby. Fly me so high, the moon ain't over. Should I let go, go, go? Fly me so high, the moon ain't over. Should I let go, 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 go? Fly me so high, the moon ain't over. If I let go, 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 go. If I let go, fly me so high, the moon ain't over. Should I let go?
Yes, give it up. So we're going to begin today's show a little bit differently than how I've done it in the past, and it's going to be a quick duet between the two of us. We did not plan this. I need a little bit of a hum from you, just a little bit. They found a little courage that simmered in the sun. They blended it with patience and just a spice of fun. They poured in hope and laughter, and then a sudden twist. They stirred it all together and made an optimist. I introduce you to singer, songwriter, master hummer, low-key dancer, son, brother, and poet, Anglo. Yes.
Sister and all.
And this was something that you wrote. These are your words.
Yeah, poems on Instagram.
An Instagram poem. When I found it, I was pleasantly surprised, and I thought it was a beautiful way to start the show because we do reference you as a contemporary R&B crooner / optimist. And sometimes optimism and R&B don't quite go together. But before we go there, I would love for you to tell us who's here with you, playing with you tonight. Tell us who they are, where they're from.
Absolutely. So on my left here, this is Addis Clopton, and he is an amazing percussionist, engineer here in Brooklyn, and he does all his, has a lot of his own independent work also, just quite amazing. And to my left here, I have Andrew, also known as Visuals. He's Visuals. He's like a celebrity online already as Visuals, but his name is Andrew, and he's an amazing engineer, producer, bassist, drummer.
Okay, so I think the poem must have broke this stage a little bit because we're having a tiny bit of technical difficulties, and we want to make sure that you're amplified properly. Sure. So let's get this mic. So anyway, we had, you tell me and I'll translate for anybody who did not hear you. We had Addis, and then we also, and who's this to your right?
To my right here is Andrew.
Andrew.
Visuals, yes.
Andrew Visuals, who's like low-key Instagram superstar. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being with us here tonight. And so as we get this mic set up, I just want to say that we have a special person. A lot of people may not know who he is, what you've done, or what you're about to do, but there's a lot of layers to your story. And so if we're all set, let's go into some of those layers. So we call you contemporary R&B, but we start the show by saying, does R&B still exist? So that is the first question that I have for you. R&B, rhythm and blues, does it still exist to you? What is it, and who are some of the key players in keeping that genre alive?
I think it definitely, good question. I think it definitely exists. You find artists trying to keep the traditional R&B going. I think artists like Jasmine Sullivan, Chris Brown, Janae Aiko, I feel like those artists are trying to keep R&B very traditional and almost in like a straight line to, I guess, what it has been. But then
and when you say traditional, do you mean live instrumentation type traditional? Do you mean the content of the songs? What do you mean?
Both. I think absolutely both. Nowadays, I feel, I mean, Drake is kind of considered R&B, you know, some of his songs, but, you know, it's like, he's not really singing, he's like speaking with a lot of auto-tune, so it's like some of his songs are considered R&B. And I think that when we start to move into that realm, it just changes what R&B traditionally is, live instrumentation and, you know, almost pushing blues. And now I feel like because of the market, R&B is considered like almost electro-pop, you know, these days.
Yeah, well, evolution is good. Change is also good. But I think that there's something about keeping tradition that helps people to honor and remember who kind of helped to pave the way. Let's talk about electropop. When you first came on the scene and you started to flirt with the industry a bit, they wanted to brand you as electropop, and you were like, hard stop, no. But you do accept the reference to electro-soul crooner, excuse me, because you are, you know, you were doing electronic music here.
Absolutely.
What happens to R&B when you start to introduce some of these digital instrumentation?
I think it's all about the representation. For me, my journey through music has always been with live bands, and I've always hired bands and always have found it very authentic to play with bands, especially R&B. But then as I moved through the industry more, I just found that I had like a special like meaning for it in my heart, and I felt that I could portray that better doing it with backing and, you know, more of an independent side, taking in more of an independent side to things. So for me, R&B grew into this because it really wasn't evolving into anything else for me.
Okay. So you wouldn't say that it started out as R&B. It evolved into being R&B.
I don't think it started out as R&B.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I just think that I met up with some producers and I had some ideas and we built off of that, but their main, I guess, genre was pop, you know.
Right.
So it's kind of like I kind of latched onto them and I learned from them, and although I learned a lot of good things, I think that the R&B was always like trying to come out. Like the first studios that I went to, they were like, "Don't riff, you know, we don't want you to riff."
No
and stuff
riffing.
like, yeah, I mean, they would, even like on accident, they would cut it out, you know, and
why?
I don't know.
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say no riffing.
Well, a lot of times, well, you know, for me, and finding like my own special R&B place amidst like everything else, I was being sent to studios. This is like way back. I was being sent into studios, and they would have like these like weird structures for songs, and like have this definite way of singing them, and it just wasn't the way that I felt. You know, music should be R&B. You know, for me, should be portrayed, and that was a lot of the reason why I, you know, started trying to do more R&B and finding like my own side of R&B.
Well, this is an interesting conversation. I think it'll be sprinkled throughout the night. A lot of people who are speaking to artists or thinking of artists, they're like, well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you get a beat, and does the beat inform your sound? You know, how involved is your producer? Or do you have the spirit of a sound in you already, and then you kind of make the beat do what you need it to do to complement the song in your heart. We're going to come back to that, but we do want to go really briefly before we go into the next song into how you got your start. So you're born and raised in Tacoma, Washington. Correct. You are a military child, so you moved around quite a lot before you ended up making your way to being Brooklyn-based. But you were singing gospel up until 17 years old, which is a fairly common story for a lot of vocalists. They were in the church, that's where they had to be, that's where they got their vocals and their relationship with music. But then at 17, you got introduced to John Mayer. That kind of shifted things, and then you got introduced to Janet Jackson, and then you got introduced to dancehall, and then you got introduced to what you call sluttier dancehall.
Yeah, there's like dancehall, and then there's like dancehall.
Right.
It's like
like just sweat
like
box,
girls
like,
on their like hands and heads and
dancehall. Right. These are his words, not mine. And then we move through kind of electro pop soul into contemporary R&B. I think that's a very interesting trajectory. Let's go into another song so that the audience can really get more of your vibe. But I want to say that the first song that we heard is called Let Go, which was a single you released in 2017. And what we're about to hear is called All I Remember, which is part of your new EP, which is also titled All I Remember. And so we're going to go into it, but before we do, I want to give a shout out to Tanisha, who has declared herself his #1 fan, and I believe that she's a relative of yours. Yes, I do my homework. So if you're watching, Tanisha, this person who you love and who you will always be a #1 fan of is in our studio tonight, and we want to dedicate All I Remember to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This is dedicated to you.
All right. Hey, Tanisha.
You make me happy, even when skies are gray. Found myself smiling when it was raining. You make me happy, running through time and space. Out here all winter, warm by the fireplace. And there's no reason I should think this way, but I miss your voice, your laugh, your touch, soft and tender. Your love is all I remember. Your clothes, your Santa, your ghost since September. Your love is all I remember. You make me happy, even now you're away. Flowers next to you, flowers to say that I miss my baby. And there's no reason I should think this way, but I miss your voice, your laugh, your touch, soft and tender. Your love is all I remember. Your clothes, your scent, your ghost since September. Your love is all I remember. Your voice, your laugh, your love is all I remember. Your clothes, your scent, your love is all I remember. Your love is all I remember.
So Anglo, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I don't mean to reveal all your business, but before we started the show, you did say that you were nervous, and so I want the audience and crew to take a collective deep breath. Can we do that? One of the good things about B-Side is that this is really not a critic show. You know, it's not here to like pull things apart, but more so to explore them and celebrate them, and to understand the journey that got you here. And so we have a really beautiful unplugged vibe. That said, all right,
Yeah.
Good. So in 2014, you released your debut EP, Life Goes Down, and then in 2017, you released a single, Let Go, which we heard. Then you took a 2-year break. About that, or 1.5.
Yeah,
year,
it was about
1
that.
year. Well, yeah, it was a 1-year break, and now we're coming back into 2018 with All I Remember. Let's talk really briefly about that break, and I want to kind of springboard into the themes of optimism and the lows. So the highs and the lows, and the low which shows up in your name, like. You classify yourself, or you've been classified as an optimistic R&B crooner. But I feel like, you know, there's some other things that happen in between that kind of maybe tug at that a little bit. So let's talk about that break. What happened during that break? Why that break? And how do we get to All I Remember?
Well, good question. And I believe it's those things that happen to you in life that get you down, that turn you into an optimist. You know, there's things that, you know, just don't go your way, you know, that just, you're not sure how to accept, like, what's happening, and you are forced to, like, make choices that you don't know if it's the right decision, or, you know, or if it's going to lead somewhere. And for me, that 2-year break involved me kind of, as I mentioned before, I had to, like, kind of find my own sound within R&B. And I just became optimistic during that whole time. I think, you know, there was a lot of lows, because at times you just don't like know like what you're doing. And you know, as a musician and as a freelance musician, you just feel like stuck. And sometimes you just feel stuck, and then sometimes the move you make, you're just like, is this right? Because I don't have money to go back and redo this over again. You know, and it's like,
yeah.
But
so would you say that this was less of a mental health break as it was a strategic business break to just kind of like, you know, reorganize?
I think it was more of a strategic. I was dealing with a lot of labels before I left for 2 years and just went on my own. And just what they presented as what they thought of as like authentic and real and giving the artist letting the artist have their own opinion. I just found that it really wasn't that much opinion, or it really wasn't that authentic. You know, it was more like, this is who we have on our roster, and because these guys have made us money, you know, this is who you should go to.
And this is not new.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
This is something that has been happening for years.
Exactly.
I remember I used to intern at Sony Music, and I was so excited. This is actually right when Lauryn Hill was about to, we were talking about Lauryn Hill before the show, about to release Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And I learned then that like so many artists literally have careers for maybe 5 to 10 years before anybody actually ever hears them or gets an album. Sometimes they're shelved, but sometimes, and I'm not saying this is exclusive to Sony, so let's be clear about that, but I'm just saying that the process to not only discover your sound, but to negotiate with the machine behind you to get to that point. And so you actually said after that experience, you said you ended up at the point where you were asking a mid-50s white guy from the suburbs about how to be more hood.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said that, I just like teared up. I just thought back. It's just like,
is this what they were asking of you to actually be more quote unquote hood?
It wasn't even that they wanted me to be more hood. It's just that what they thought of as like, I guess, a pop artist, I wasn't that. So they were trying to find other outlets for me. And, you know, he just mentioned one day, you know, can we get something like from the streets, a little bit more hood? And he, you know, and I'm like thinking, and I was thinking all day, and you know, like, let me see, like, you know,
if I could hear what
but I wrote all these songs, and I wrote this song called "Educate Me." It's like, you know, I was young and I was 16, never knew that I could dream. Teachers told me I could be nothing, but I'm gonna prove them wrong, and it was good for me. Yeah, it was like one of those type of songs. It's like, we got to feel your attitude, and it's like.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, but it's funny when you look back, because it's like those type of things are not meant for everyone to like portray. It's like, that's just a part of who I am. Like being poor and grew up in the hood, you know, with Ratchet and Shanisha and Raekwon. It's like, that's just the way I grew up, and it's not something that I actually want to relive. That's just my life, you know? And I feel like when somebody's asking you from the other side, they don't understand how hard it is to dive back in there and like relive all that, you know, for a song, and then for a song that you don't even know will be taken. It's like, we're just trying this out, so dive deep, pull all those emotions back out, and then if we don't like it, we'll tell you. And that's another thing, when they tell you no, it's like, you made me relive all that just to tell me no again. So.
And not to mention that there are Shaniquas and Rayshawns that do live in the suburbs.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we clear about that.
Exactly.
So we get to 2018. After all of that, you took your break, and then you kind of came back kind of with another wind, a second wind in the indie artist scene. And there's this, I think nowadays there's this glamorization of what it means to be an independent artist, and that did not always exist. Independent artist was also commensurate with eating ramen every day, negotiating between paying rent or 10 other things, you know. And so it's very real. And a lot of people think that, you know, these decisions that people are making to negotiate these qualities of living is a luxury, but really, like, if this is your calling, then it's not a luxury, because we do know what happens to people when they don't answer their calling, right? So let's talk about calling real quick. How old were you when you knew that this was your calling? Is this your calling? How did you answer?
I do believe this is my calling. And I started when I was young. I started singing when I was young, and I would just get all the parts in the play at school, and I would get like the solos in my church choir, and it just seemed like that's what, like that thing that I was good at. Like I wasn't good in school, I didn't get good grades, but I passed everything because everybody knew that I could sing and I was going to be in the play, so it's like I passed everything because of like the plays in school. And I knew in high school that being on stage or being creative in some way musically was for me. I also knew that you know early on when you can't work for somebody. It's like you have a little bit of an attitude problem. Somebody says something to you, what? You know, it's like your boss can't tell you, can't come at you the wrong way, and all certain types of things. So I knew early on that I needed to have some type of independent, you know, freelance work where I could build for myself. And I probably knew that when I started, yeah, like I said, working in other people's like places. I think my first job growing up was at Burger King, and I've read the manager after like 3 months, like, you make that burger that way. I don't do it. It's like,
well, let's stop there. To all the people at Burger King and any job with an attitude, because you don't want to be there, we hope that you feel inspired and motivated and find a pathway to do what you got to do.
And learn how to balance that.
Learn balance.
And you're creative.
And then find your way back to your purpose.
Yeah.
Give it up for Anglo. We're going to go into the next song called Daydreaming.
Hold me, just don't forget me, please. My love, forgive me. I'm falling for you more every day. I want you to shake me, touch me, ride me, shake me. I won't be far when you need me. I spend all my finance to show how much I care for you. This road I keep running with you. After the long road, we've become close. Fall into daydreaming. The long road after the show. Fall into daydreaming. I'm talking about a daydreaming, a daydreaming. Long days and long nights. I think about the ways I could please you. Not forever on the right track. My heart will be closest to you. This road I keep running with you. Come on. After the long road, we become closer. Fall into daydreaming. The long road after the show. Fall into daydreaming. After the long road, we become lost. Fall into daydreaming. The long road after the show. Fall into daydreaming. I'm falling in this daydream. I'm falling. I'm falling. I'm falling. I'm falling. I'm falling. I'm falling.
So we're here with Anglo. We just heard Daydreaming, and before that we heard All I Remember. And I love these two songs. I want to bookend this conversation with these two songs. I want to double back about optimism, because visuals and performance are very much a big part of your experience, your work. They mean a lot to you. You want to make sure that you're honing your craft in terms of how you deliver it, and then also how you're sharing it on digital media. And so I've been watching your videos. And for those of you at home who get to do a quick search and look up some of these videos, some of the videos are, I wouldn't say dark, but they have a melancholia to them to a degree. And I'll tell you what I mean. There's a lot of cemeteries happening, especially in the All I Remember video. And then also in that video, there's a bear, which I want to talk about, and then blood. So between cemetery, a bear, and blood, and then this conversation around optimism, can I surmise that there's an image of like a letting go or a death somehow that you're evoking? And is it not like the grim death, but is it the death that of shedding something? Are you shedding something in these songs?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little literal, and it's a little bit of what you're saying is like about shedding off this layer of weight that you don't need anymore, or whatever that may be, love or old jobs or who knows, just like the weight, just let it go. And I use that song Let Go a lot, right? And I've been told Let Go. I think that people listen to it and they just like, it's just like, just let it go. It's kind of a release. And for me, that's special because I don't think I wrote the song with that intention. I think I wrote it with more of a, what you said, kind of this dark, coming from this dark, you know, love lost place. But then the more I listened to it, it could have been applied to so many more aspects of like life and yeah.
Well, let's talk about love and love lost. What's your relationship with this subject matter? Like, do you put it all out in there? I mean, I know we need to kind of go back and kind of do a deeper study of the lyrics, but is love your muse? Is it kind of like something that just happens in the music because you're inspired by the sound of whatever you're hearing? Is love an actual, are you in the midst of love when you're writing these songs, unrequited love? What is the relationship with love?
So for me, love has always been like kind of a fantasy, kind of like a story tale. I didn't really know what love really is coming from outside of like your immediate family. I guess, you know, we say like, I love you, oh, I love you girl, I love you dude, you know, whatever, and it's just like whatever. But I think that my experience with love was, there was never really an experience growing up. Okay. My mom was against dating, so even my sister, she didn't like start dating until she was like 22 or something. So we didn't really have that connection. So as I grew older and just appreciated what I saw in movies and from other people, the I guess art of being able to tell a story about love is what I was fascinated with.
Would you say you came from a strict household?
Very.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you reference in your household or your family or the past, you don't really use the word strict or anything that sounds oppressive. There obviously is a lot of love and support in that household. Yeah. So did it feel like, you know, like for the kids who grew up in strict household and then they go to their first year of college and they just wild out? Was it that kind of like journey into music, just like, I'm free? Was
For
it
my
that?
sister it was.
Oh,
my
okay.
sister just went to college and she just went in.
Sorry, is this Tanisha?
Yes.
Sorry, Tanisha. We put all your business out in the street, but for a good cause.
But and I'm sorry. Say the question.
I don't even remember the question. Let's move on, so that way Tanisha doesn't get any more.
What you want? We won't put you on blast right now.
Well, there's a sense of freedom, obviously, but was it like a mad dash to freedom, or did you?
Okay.
I mean, did the strictness of your household, of your upbringing, have a really heavy impact on you to the point that when you started to move around and come to New York and explore music, that it was like a huge sigh of relief?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Having an appreciation for music as a child, but not being able to listen freely was like a thing. I mean, I would sneak and be listening to like, I remember one day my mom caught me listening, this is no lie, caught me listening to the Pocahontas soundtrack under my bed.
You were taking what you could get?
Yeah, I was taking, and seriously, it was a tape, a cassette tape, and it was, my cousin had gotten it. I remember I had snuck it, and she caught me, and I got in trouble for listening to that. And I just remember little experiences like that made like me, when I got out of my place, just like, oh my God, music everywhere, everything I heard I loved, and everything, every studio I went to, I was just like adapting and clinging on to every sound, and it was a special time. But coming from that and not really having love, it was like this kind of do experience where it's like I'm learning how to write about love because it's something that I see, and at the same time I'm learning how to like put those words into a song. So it was like a really special time. And
so what was
like
the moment like when
music.
you told your parents that you wanted to do this?
I told my mom, so my parents are separated, but I told my mom in high school, she knew that I wanted to do music full time because I would always skip school and come to auditions in New York, and I would just miss a lot of school.
From Washington?
Oh no, I had moved to Middletown, New York by then. Yeah,
okay.
so I was living in Middletown, which is about 2 hours away, and I would take the bus up here every week to audition.
For what kind of stuff?
Musical theater, and I did a lot of theater, and I did Fame and Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
What kind of audition can you land as a child who's cutting school and leaving home to drive miles to that? What kind of audition can you get that makes that okay with your parents?
I think that
it has to be for Beyonce or something.
Well, they both were summer stage.
Oh.
So I would audition during the year and then do them over the summer.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it. So, all right, so no complete heart attacks.
Yeah.
There. I want you to finish the statement. If I weren't doing music, I'd be...
I think I would just travel all the time.
Traveling?
Yeah.
How would you fund that?
I don't know.
So that might be the first answer.
I think that, well, okay, I don't know if people know this, but I went to culinary school and I'm a trained chef, and okay. I cooked for a long time, so I would probably be in the culinary field. Mm-hmm. I love to cook. I try to do it all the time.
Yeah,
so
I did know that, by the way.
I still like to throw down in the kitchen very often.
Really quickly, what's the difference between cooking up something in the kitchen and cooking up something in the studio? Aside from the obvious difference.
Well, I don't think there's much different. Each thing you cook up is gonna be for the soul.
Hey,
so.
And on that note, get your utensils ready, or if you use your hands, use your hands. Let's sink our fingers and our teeth into the next song. It is called Is You With It? Give it up for Élan. Give it up.
Stop flying over me. I never wanna see you again. Maybe something's out there. Why you never wanna see me? Stuck in the air. I never want to be lonely there. Why you gotta be hard on me, honey? Why you gotta be love running up? Why you got the sweet soda candy? I thought I was your true love. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh, huh. Maybe I could find words in the middle. Huh, 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 huh. Maybe you could find ways to forgive me. Huh, huh, huh. Love comes in the middle somewhere. Is you with it? Huh. Is you with it? Why you never wanna see me? Stuck in the air, yeah. I never want to be lonely there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why you got to be hard on me, honey? Why you gotta be love running up? Why you got the sweet soda candy? I thought I was your true love. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I could find words in the middle. Maybe you could find ways to forgive me. Love comes in the middle somewhere. Is you with it? Is you with it? Is you? Maybe I could find words in the middle. Maybe you could find ways to forgive me. No way. Love comes in the middle somewhere. Is you with it? Is you with it? Is you? Come on. Why you never wanna see me? Yeah. Stuck in the air. Maybe you're out there somewhere.
Thank you.
That was Is You With It?
Is you with it?
The question is, who are you talking to? Yep.
So that was in, I think I was trying to get with a guy a long time ago, and I don't know, for me, I had always been the fat kid, and
Where?
When I was younger, I mean, I was like
really?
pushing past like 230 in like 9th grade.
So there is a shedding theme happening in there, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, but I think that Is You With It was just about like coming into this type of confidence where it's like, yo, I know I'm good. Like, you good? Can we do this? Like, and it was such a long time before I could like build up that type of confidence to like approach.
How old were you?
15. Oh, when I wrote this?
Well,
I wrote this like a year and a half ago.
But when you were having that experience.
Oh, yeah, like 16.
16.
Yeah.
And
15,
you
16.
were overweight at 16, you were saying?
Yeah, I was really overweight.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So great. This is a much smoother segue. I did not have to find it myself because I do want to be respectful. Let's talk about sexuality and gender, and for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is because in listening to your songs, and particularly with R&B, I think that when people are speaking about relationships and then you really get into the song, a lot of times the listener is so kind of maybe mesmerized by the sound, but so into their own experience that they may be going through. But then there are other times when they really like the song and they want to know what you're going through specifically and who you're talking about. And one of the challenges in R&B or in contemporary music in particular has been language and how the artist uses language to either mask what they're talking about or to project something that is more acceptable or more common. And this is a tricky subject because it's not something that people have talked about for a long time. You know, we had Luther Vandross and, you know, so beautiful. Mm-hmm. There was so many moments we didn't care who he was talking to or about or whatever. But then there's this moment when the conversations do start to come to the forefront. How comfortable are you talking about sexuality in general in your work and then using the lyrics to reference specifically your experience?
Okay. I think that for work, I'm always very conscious because I think that I always try to write from a place that everyone can understand and have my songs be accessible to everyone.
When you say understand, do you mean accept?
Relate.
Relate.
Which is why I have one song in my whole catalog that I reference she, which is Can't Describe Her.
Yes.
And that's the only song that I have in my whole catalog that I identify gender or identify any type of person I'm talking about.
Say the title again, just in case anybody didn't.
Can't Describe Her is that song.
Can't Describe Her.
Correct.
Was that a conflict to write that song, or was it?
When I wrote that song, it was more about the artistic approach, and I just found that that song it just felt better to say her, and I don't know why. And it wasn't, I mean, everybody in the industry knows, like, I don't, and back to your other question, I don't have any problem speaking about being gay or or gender or anything like that. I think that everybody knows, but I think that when I'm writing, I'm conscious about it more for other people, because not everybody has evolved as much as everyone else, and you just want people to be able to feel like they are part of that story without like.
So let me clarify. What do you feel like one of the reasons another reason I'm asking this question is, what do you feel like is the role of the artist, particularly your role as an artist, in helping people to evolve, not only conversations and experiences, but acceptance?
That's a good question. And I think I've always struggled with that, because I don't know, you sort of feel, after you've been doing this for a while, that your platform should be for a cause or for something. But then on the other hand, it's like, I've fought so hard for like this little small business, and would that cost take me away from like what I initially wanted to do? Would it become like a thing? And I guess I never wanted it to be a thing, because it wasn't a thing to me. Like,
you don't want it to shroud what was the original goal?
To just write songs.
To just write songs, whether it was for yourself or other people?
Correct, correct. And yeah, I guess I never wanted that to be a part of my music in a way that people would be able to identify it as being part of my music. I would want that if I ever came to a place where I would talk about something that's not very traditional in one of my songs, I don't know.
Well, there seems to be a movement in your work, whether it's conscious or not, to make.
Because I'm guilty. As we're talking, it's like, you feel this. It's like I think
we all
talk
are,
about
and
it,
I
but
think because sometimes these moments happen so fast that we don't really have a moment to pause and think and say, am I being authentic in this moment, and who am I being authentic for?
Or I'm guilty for not trying to be authentic
and I bring
enough.
this up because I had a recent experience. I was singing karaoke, and karaoke can be awesome. It also can be ridiculous. But you're singing a song, and you're singing the words that come up on the screen, and the words are to a pronoun that may not necessarily I may not necessarily identify with, singing to that pronoun in that way. And I was like, and I found myself at first changing the pronoun, and I'm like, what am I doing that for?
We all have done that.
We've all done
Everybody
that.
in karaoke
And I think it's such a special moment to be in a platform where we can actually address it and talk about it. How serious is it? How important is it? And I think it does become important when we use language or don't use language to perpetuate oppression.
Yeah, I feel like I always feel guilty because I don't, and I try to like listen to other artists, even like there's so many artists that I feel don't also, and I think it's like you're just kind of scared almost to be that person. Like I look at like the platform that people that are much more higher than me, I guess, like Sam Smith or Frank Ocean. It's like they don't do the same thing, but what they're talking about. But it's like, what's stopping us from actually saying? Is it like sales, or is it like management?
Sometimes it's fear, maybe.
Yeah,
sometimes
fear.
It is money, and sometimes it's pressure, and then sometimes because there ain't nobody's business. And,
Right.
I think that when you become a public figure or face, people feel like they automatically have access to whatever it is they want to know about you. And I think it is important to reserve some sacred space. That said, let's go into another side of the coin. So we're talking about sexuality and gender, but then there's also issues of race and class and all these things. And you said we try our hardest to stay positive. We give them what they ask for staying silent for a while, avoiding bringing race into music conversations, not wanting to point out the obvious, because you don't want to be that black musician that complains about black issues.
Absolutely.
Really quickly, talk about that.
I wrote that, I remember that blog post I wrote, and I was going through things with the labels, and there were artists that were right alongside of me, that we were in the same management team, and they would always give them play and not me. And I'm like, and the industry, they will tell you straight out, oh, if you're a white girl, you're like surefire, you're gonna be blasted to the top. People are very into working with you because, they know that's an easy market to sell. So I had like all of these white people on a team, and then I was the only black one. And it's like, they're not singing better than me. They're not coming for me in a video. They're not doing like nothing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what is the difference? And I remember sitting down with my manager one day and just going over all of this. And I was like, if they're not taking me on, there has to be one reason, because they don't see me as a profitable thing, you know? And I was just telling him, like, what about my fellow artists? They're not younger, they're not better, it's not anything. And they were giving them like deals back to back, and it was like I was just kind of struggling along and just writing song after song, we sent to producer, and I was like, there's only one difference. It's because, you know, of the color of my skin, and I don't want to be that person that says it, but it's the obvious. And it's, yeah.
Everybody, let's take this collective deep breath. I'm only stopping you there because we want to get these other songs in here, and we want to give the audience a chance to decompress. We're going
Sorry
there.
to bring you down.
Because these are no. Sometimes by revealing the weights, we get a chance to kind of lift ourselves up. And that said, give it up for Anglo as we go into the next song. It's called Home Too Soon.
Thank you.
Alone that winter, my heart's in the cold, my love's in the cold. Words find you there, all my words are gone. Good luck this winter. Be strong and let your mind rest. Don't cry for me, precious. I'll be an angel. I might be your angel overhead, overhead. I might be your angel overhead, overhead. I might be your angel. I'm flying over the moon. I'll go, you'll see me right there next to you. I'm flying up by the sun. I'm gone, babe, I know. I went home too soon. Climbing to the sun, lights and gold, heaven's gate open. Didn't think that I'd come so far without my love. I'm standing here watching overhead, overhead. I might be your angel, overhead, overhead. I might be your angel. I'm flying over the moon. I'll go, you'll see me right there next to you. I'm flying up by the sun. I'm gone, babe, I know. I went home too soon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm flying over the moon. I'll go, you'll see me right there next to you. Yeah, I'm flying up by the sun. I'm gone, babe, I know. I
Thank you.
Anglo, speaking of home too soon, we gotta go home soon, and so we gotta wrap up. I want to dedicate this next song to your mom. Is it Deborah or Deborah?
Deborah.
Deborah.
Yeah.
You'll see why. Smooth, powerful, orgasmic. These are 3 words that he's used to describe his own sound. And as we wrap up today's episode, I am inclined to say that he may just have some new fans who totally agree. Thank you, Anglo and the crew, for joining us in the studio tonight. We wish you love and much more for all that the journey has in store. And if y'all want more of these B-side vibes, check out past episodes on youtube.com/BRIC TV and also on our podcast at soundcloud.com/B-side podcast. Or just come on by the studio and get a dose of these live vibes up close. I am your host, Queen GodIs, wishing you all a powerful commemoration of Black history, present, and future. We love you, Brooklyn. Till next time.
Thank you so much, BRIC TV. You guys were so awesome and so amazing. And we really want to thank you for letting us shine tonight. We have Andrew and Addis. Just very appreciative. Thank you. And thank you all for coming out.
It's funny, I never could be all that you wanted, Mama, but it's simple. You never would have made me a winner, 'cause I'm really kinda strange, kinda lovely, kinda funny from the start. I've been the hump, and you just noticed I never can be what you want, but I've been this way all along. I wonder if I could be the hero you long for, Mama, yeah, but I'm cautious, 'cause every time I open my mouth it's trouble in the gutter. And you pass me by, cut your eyes, throw me shade when I say, give me time. Whoa, then you just notice that I never can be what you want. Mama, I've been this way. You're telling me I need to pray, but it's easy to say them things when you're living in your bubble, when you're outside of trouble, when I'm just a way to fix your mistakes. Yeah, don't tell me to decide, yeah. I just wanna take my time right now, so mama don't be trouble. Even though it's 'cause you love me, you're pushing me away. You should just let me be, oh. You should just let me be, oh, yeah. You should just let me be, oh. You should just let me be, oh, oh. You should just let me be, oh, yeah. You should just let me be, oh, yeah. You should just let me be, oh. I wonder if I could be the hero you've longed for, Mama, yeah. But I'm cautious, 'cause every time I open my I got to take the church. Then you pass it by, cut your eyes, tell me shade when I say, give me time. And you just notice that